Before that, our head of the department will give an intro. Before the welcome address, our head of the department, Dr. Fatima Madam, will give the intro.
Over to Fatima, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, ma'am.
Good evening to all the participants for the international webinar on Insight, Drug Discovery to Marketing. On behalf of the Department of Biochemistry, Bharati Women's College, I extend a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Arvind N. Ramakrishnan, Director, Lab Automation and Insights, Cognizant, Greater Boston Area, Massachusetts, USA. I welcome you, sir, for this webinar and thank you for accepting our invitation to deliver a lecture on digital transformation across the pharma value chain, focus on R&D and manufacturing labs. I also thank all the participants who have joined for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to call upon now Dr. Premlata, ma'am, Department of Biochemistry, Bharati Women's College, to give keynote address about the speaker. Thank you, ma'am.
Warm good evening to you all. It's my immense pleasure and privilege to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Arvind N. Ramakrishnan, Director, Lab Automation and Insights, Cognizant, Boston, USA, on behalf of Department of Biochemistry, Bharati Women's College, Chennai. Mr. Arvind N. Ramakrishnan has completed his undergraduate degree in biochemistry from Jaya College in the year 1996 and postgraduate degree in biotechnology from Guru Sashdas University, Bilaspur in the year 1998. I am very proud to say he is a former student of Dr. Meenakshi of our department. He started his career in Bangalore as associate in Silico Sciences. He was the first member of informatics startup team focused on scientific data management, automated text analytics, and pre-sales activities. In the year 2003, he was assigned as Senior Manager in Corporate Planning and Business Development in Jubilant BioChemism. He executed as Business Development Lead for Discovery Informatic Products and Services Business Managing. Built sales pipelines for informative products and services such as kinases, proteases, GPCRS, ion channels, nuclear receptors, biomarkers, pathway databases. He set up first early discovery services business across target to hit, hit to lead, and preclinical studies with major pharma. He achieved lead discovery and lab informatics center of excellence. Upgraded as consulting manager, life sciences practice in Cognizant Technology Solution in St. Louis during the year 2007 to 8. He coordinated with the different stakeholder teams to help in development of control vocabulary and notation sets for bioentities. He advanced as program manager, life sciences during the year 2008 to 10 and as account manager, life sciences during the year 2010 to 12 in Manchester, United Kingdom, where he built and managed relationship with discovery customers and product vendors and increased client visibility and uptake. Arvind N. Ramakrishnan advocate as Senior Account Manager, Life Sciences Practice in Boston. He won key project on Oncology Collaboration Portal, Research Pipeline Dashboard and Analytics, R&D Big Data Analysis, and Transmart Platform for Development of Translation Research. He boosted as a market lead discovery research and lab informatics practice from 2014 to 17 in Boston. Now, he has advanced as Director, Lab Automation and Insight. Now, he is a founder and startup leader, bringing to life the digital lab of the future platform. He has been industrial for more than 12 years and honors and the awards to his credit. In 2007, he won Associate of the Year Award from the President of the company for outstanding self-driven contribution in setting up and leading the discovery informative business. In 2013, he won the Cohesion Phase Setter Award from the Life Science Head for new service line introduction and key customer wins. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. Thank you all. Over to the speaker. Hello.
Hello, sir. Can you hear us, sir? Sir, but we can't hear you, sir. You are not audible to us, sir. No, sir, not audible, sir. Hello, sir. Sir, you are not audible to us, sir. Okay, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome, and sorry for the glitches. That's always
Sir, one
technology,
second, sir.
right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can you give me presentation right so I can present? Okay.
Sir, you can present by click present icon, sir.
Can you see me in my screen now? Yeah. Can you see my presentation now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see your presentation.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all. And in fact, it's my privilege to be here and talk to all of you. Thank you for the kind welcome and this opportunity to address all of you at this hour. I know it's a Friday evening. There are better things to do, but all of you have chosen to come in and listen to something that you might find interesting. So I appreciate the interest, and let's jump right into the topic for today, which is digital transformation across the pharma value chain. So I understand some of these terms might be new to some of you, and what I would like to achieve by the end of the session, say for the next 40-50 minutes or so, is help you with some of these terms, so you have a further interest to go and research on all of this and see how this can be useful in your field of study. This is also a different situation in that I'm talking to people not directly, and there are many of you that I've not met, and you from various different backgrounds. So if there are any topics or aspects of the presentation that are not clear, you could either interrupt me, send a message in the chat window, or hold your thoughts till the end where we can have a quick Q&A session. I'll also leave behind my contact information, so feel free to connect with me over LinkedIn or send me an email so we can have further conversation. Again, a disclaimer before I start, none of the work that I'm going to present today is proprietary. Almost all of it is public information. So please feel free to pick it up, share, of course, citing the original source. They don't belong to me. Also, this is not a work that I've done as part of my ongoing job at my current employer. So there is no proprietary information that I'm sharing here. Just wanted to share that disclaimer before I move further. Here is what I thought I'll cover today. Right? First, we'll talk about what are we here to do. How can I...
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yep.
Sir, we can't see your PPT, sir. Can you please resume your PPT, sir?
Can you see it now?
No, sir, we can see you only. Yeah. We can't see your presentation screen, sir.
Okay. Let me share the whole screen.
Okay, sir.
Can you see it now?
No, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the industry itself. By industry, I mean the pharma and the biotech industry that I've been working in for the last almost 18 years now. Then we'll talk about the idea of a pharma value chain. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, some of these terms might be new. So we will ease you into what is a value chain and what does pharma value chain mean and why is it important to talk about it. Then I'd like to introduce the idea of what is digital. We live in a digital world, and how is pharma getting transformed?
Sir, we can't hear you, sir. Sir, please unmute your audio. Sir, Arvind, sir, we can't hear you, sir. Can you please unmute your audio, sir?
Can you
sir.
hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. I think given the number of participants, the system is actually putting in restrictions on the screen share and the mic. So I'd appreciate if people can go on mute. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, please. Thank you. Right. So if you cannot hear me sometime or my screen doesn't come up, please do let me know. Okay, so let me press on this again. Okay, so we'll talk about the digital transformation that's happening in both the R&D and the manufacturing labs. And towards the end, I'll talk about what would the lab of the future look like. Okay. And of course, I have references to all of that I'm presenting in the last slide, so you can always look that up. Okay, let's quickly jump into the topic itself. I would like to start the session with salutations to my guru. There are a lot of people who have helped me walk this path. So I'm always indebted to what I have learned from my gurus in school and college. So thank you all. With that, I would like to talk about three big things that I would like to begin this discussion. One is, what is the learning focus for us? As I mentioned earlier, all of you are from different backgrounds. So you might be having a science major or a biochemistry major. You might be a bench scientist. You're probably teaching your students in different aspects of life sciences. To me, as a learner, there are 4 areas of focus, and that is represented by the 4 circles on the right. If you've probably heard during the introduction, I've always looked at work in the interface of 4 things. The first one is, of course, love for life sciences, how that has always been the core area that I focused on. And then how I've been able to add some information technology aspects to it as an enabler. And third, how I've tried to bring all of that in the context of what makes business sense to bring life sciences and IT together. And finally, the people, of course. So all of this exists because there are people to look at and people to take care of. And that is what I like about the life sciences industry too, because it is focused on discovering, developing, and taking to market all these new drugs. So that's the community impact that I always look for. And that's one of the reasons I'm here today to talk to all of you. So that's what keeps driving me. And also we are in a situation, what we call the new normal. We are in the midst of a global pandemic. And that's, of course, what is making us sit at home and do the session online. But I see all of this as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to connect to people, and an opportunity to see how we can translate this threat into scope for new discoveries and new cures, right? So all of this has been my learning objective as I put this together for you. And hopefully some of this will resonate with you too, right? So with that, I would like to talk about the industry. Right? That's the first part of the session today. For us to understand, as a bench scientist or future biochemistry, biotechnology experts, it is important for us to understand where we are going to operate in. There are multiple career options that you might choose. I'm not recommending any here, so you walk your own path. But this is what I have found and learned over a period of time. And I've always been working with the pharmaceutical and biotech industry. And I've had the opportunity, thanks to my different employers and the alma mater that I went to be living and working out of 3 different continents. And right now, in the greater Boston area, there is an opportunity to connect with hundreds of these pharma and biotech companies on an everyday basis. And so here is what I always look for. So if you are new to the space, if you want to look at, okay, what does this industry mean? What are things that I can do here? This is how I would start. I thought I'll put together a slide and say, this is what I would do if I were to get into this industry to find a career for me, right? So the first one I would look at is, I would look at who are the big people, who are operating in the space, who are the major players. And I've of course attached references to all of these slides in the last slide, so you can look up and you can Google for more information. All of this is publicly available, as I said earlier. So I'll start looking at the sales and the spend, specifically the R&D spend, okay? So some of these slides are going to be busy, but I'll help you with pointing to certain places in the slide so you exactly know what I'm talking about, okay? So I would first go about and look at who are the top players. So here are the top 10 players. They are ranked by the amount of money that they make, the revenues they have selling their drugs, right? And it also present next to it is the amount of R&D spend that goes. So there's a healthy average of R&D spend to the sales, which means companies that spend more on R&D, they invest upfront into upcoming drugs or the next generation drugs. So those are good indices to follow, right? So look at which companies are spending a lot of their money into R&D, which means there is an opportunity for you. There are a lot of opportunities for you to go work with them, right? Then look at the different ways you can slice and dice all of this, right? That is the ranking by the revenue. Here is the ranking by pipeline. So by pipeline, I mean, what are the number of drugs that are in the pipeline that are currently being discovered and developed, which is going to come out sometime in the near future as cure for diseases, right? And in that space, this is the top 10. Then you can see the order of the companies have changed and the focus is different. So this is another way I would look at who is doing what, or I would look at the origin of the drug. Now, some of you might have a chemistry background, some of you might be from a biological background, and let me say it in layman's terms. So if I choose a chemistry-based approach, I would be a pharma company. If I choose a biologics-based approach, then I'll be termed a biotech company. There are exceptions to this rule. There are it's not always black and white. There are gray lines in between, but you can consider this as a high-level guideline, right? So with that information, you can go back and look at what is the origin of drugs. So as expected, most of the drugs have a chemical synthetic origin, but increasingly, as you can see, 1/4 of them are also biological origin, specifically immunology-related origin, right? So that's interesting. And you can look at the whole list and look at which is your area of interest from biochemistry or a chemistry standpoint. You can also look at the same data if you are aligned to some therapeutic areas. Therapeutic areas, I mean, in simple language, which disease area do I address? Here's a top 10 list of which disease areas that pharma companies are developing drugs against, and which means that there is a market for these kind of drugs, and that's not a surprise that many of the top 10 categories are for cancer. It is the most explored, it's the most, I would say, studied area. Some of you might end up doing cancer research, but there are also a whole set of other therapeutic areas that are focused for pharma companies. So what we've done so far by looking at these 4 categories, looked at what are the areas that pharma and biotech companies are focused on, right? So let's continue further. there's something called an innovation index. Okay, and this again is this information. I've identified the source, so you can go read up. The table is actually 2019. We are in 2020. The website has updated information. The order and ranking has actually changed. This parameter is very important to understand because as you know, change is the only thing constant. You constantly keep changing and evolving, and you need to be innovating to be able to bring more and better drugs to the market, right? And innovation has been explained very well in this model. So go, please have a look. And these are the companies that have a top innovation index, which means they are spending a lot more time innovating and finding new drugs and cure. And finally, there is the category called the targets. So there are set number of targets that we know about. Let's say most of them are protein targets that we have identified here. And the subset of them have their structure elucidated. So if you can go to the protein data bank or PDB and look at all of those proteins where there is a 3D crystallography structure elucidated, and you can get all of that information and do further research on that. So the target categories are important to understand where the focus is, where the money is being spent, which area is being focused on to be able to find the next cure, right? So these are the different ways you can slice and dice the industry information based on your point of interest. If I'm going to be more in sales and marketing of drugs, I'll be interested in the first category. If I'm more interested in the mechanism of action of drugs, I'll be probably interested in the target category. So it depends on what is the area of interest. I thought I'll present to you the different ways you can look at the same.
Sir, 1 second, sir.
Yeah.
We can't see your PPT, sir.
Okay, so I think what's happening is
Somebody has clicked the present icon, I guess, sir. Can you please resume PPT, please?
Okay, resume your presentation. Can you see it now?
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Okay, so we talked about the 6 areas on how we can look at the industry, study the industry further. All of these data points are available. So as a good memory aid, I call it spotted. So if you're able to spot these different things about the industry, then you will have a better handle on what you're going to get into, right? So how are you going to apply all of what you've learned in the industries that you're going to work in? So that's the first section of my presentation. I wanted to talk about how I would go about learning about the industry that I'm looking to work in, right? So with that, I would want to go into the next part of the discussion, and this is about the value chain, right? So I want to talk about what is the pharma value chain. So I've introduced you to the idea of pharma. What is the industry? What are the different ways you can look at the data? And now I want to go into the next term, value chain. So this is a complex slide, but let me help you with the 3 sections of the slide, right? The bottom part is what we call the primary activities. The top part is the support activities. And on the right, you see what is the value that's coming out of it, right? The idea, and there is, again, reference information in the last slide, so you can go and read more about it. So any business that you run.
Sir, excuse me. Sorry for the interruption, sir. Some participant has clicked present icon again and again. Participants, please don't do that. Sir, we can't see your PPT screen actually. Yeah, now it is okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
No problem. So I wanted to talk about the value chain and say, what is the value chain? Something that delivers value, right? And these are companies that run for profit. These are companies that are creating value. And a simple idea of what you call a margin is you spend some money and then you sell the product and you make some money. And the difference between that is the margin that you make, right? And you make the profit, you also deliver value. The value that you're delivering is the drug. Right? So when you're doing that, that is how you are creating the value. And that value can be captured by these different primary and support activities. So if you go into a pharma lab, you would have these incoming logistics about cells, tissues, reagents, compounds, antibodies, and all of that. You would work on lab operations, you'd come out with targets, hits, leads. So those are the activities that you would see, and all of that is delivering value to the end stakeholders. It could be the shareholders, it could be the customers who are us, the end consumers of the product, which is the drug. So that is the value chain. The value chain is sequential activity that happens in a company, which is going to drive value, which is going to create value and make sure the company is running profitability. So that is the value chain. So what is a pharma value chain? So, or what happens in a pharma company? So when you look from left to right, so these are the different activities. Some of you might be aware. What you see here is the R&D section. And what you see in the middle is what we call the preclinical animal studies, or the animal labs, where the drug is tested on animals, and then it is tested on humans, which are called the clinical trials, and then it goes for approval. So this is the value chain. If you are going to work in the pharma biotech space, it is important for you to understand this value chain. It's important for you to understand what comes after what. As you move from left to right, there are a lot more standards, there are a lot more regulations that are mandated by the local governmental authorities. For example, here in the US, it is the FDA. So there are these Food and Drug Administration like organizations that control and mandate what and how the drug can be created and sold in the market, right? So again, I'll just spend one more minute to talk about the value chain and then go into a little bit of detail about what you need to look in the value chain. So as I understand, all of you are science students, many of you from biochemistry, so you can relate to what is a target. So here is a simple, again, layman's terms. There are exceptions to this rule, but here is a layman's example of what all of this means, these terms: target, hit, lead, and so on. So target is mostly the protein. Now, we talked about the list of proteins that are most popular targets in the previous slide. It's mostly a protein which is either malfunctioning, and as you know, structure determines function in a protein. So if something is wrong with the structure or in the way that it is coded, it could result in a wrong function, and that could be the cause of a disease, right? So that is the target. So if you're looking to find a drug, you first go and identify what is the target that you're going to go after. Which protein are you going to go take care of, so the disease condition is reversed, right? So that is the target. To be able to identify the target that is relevant to the disease itself would take a few years, right? And then what you do is, if you're a chemistry-driven company, it's like the major pharma, then what you do is you already have a huge database of chemical compounds that are already known to react with that target, right? So we call it the prior art search. So you probably have done that. You've probably done all of that primary research. Nowadays, all of that can be easily automated. You don't have to, as a research student, sit and read hundreds or thousands of research articles and then come up with inferences. There are many automated ways of reading through millions of published articles from PubMed and be able to generate an insight automatically. And that's an area of active interest for me. That was, in fact, one of the first startups that we founded, and we call it text analytics and mining. you can run an automated bot run through a volume of data like the PubMed articles, and then generate some inferences on what is the relationship between a gene and a protein, or a protein and a protein, and so on. So coming back to the term hit, so those are chemical compounds which are likely to interact with the target, and then the hit becomes a lead. It evolves into a lead. A lead is what is optimized for interaction with the target. So the idea is that think of the target as the actual target that you would use in a shooting range, and the hit is like the bullet or the arrow that goes and hits against the target. And the most for better accuracy, better efficacy, better safety, what you want is the best bullet or the best arrow against the target of interest, right? And that is the lead. By the time you do this, and the industry term for this is target to hit, hit to lead. By the time you do this, you've involved already a lot of biology and chemistry teams within the organization, and you now have an optimized lead. It is now ready for it to be first tested in animals. And that is where the animal labs comes in. So until now, you've been either working in silico or in a test tube, in a computer, in vitro in a test tube, or in vivo is the next stage. So you take it in vivo into an animal, and you do the animal studies, and based on that, you file for permission with the regulatory authorities to take it further into clinical trials. The clinical trials are phase 1, 2, 3. Here it tells you what each phase tests for, primarily safety in the first phase, safety and efficacy in the second phase, safety and efficacy in a larger scale in the third phase. So a larger number of people and over a longer period of time. And once you find this identified lead, safer in animals, safer in humans, after the 3 phases of clinical trials, then you go for an approval, and then you get ready to bring it to market, right? This is the pharma value chain. It is very important for all of you to understand this, so you exactly know how a pharma company operates, and then you exactly know how can you use your skills that you're acquiring right now and deploy that in one or many of these areas. For example, if I'm here, I would be a biochemist, a target specialist, a biologist, an X-ray crystallographer. So that's the kind of roles that I'll have. If I'm here, I'll be more of a chemist. It could be quantitative chemistry. It could be in silico chemistry. It could be a lot of assay development to test. And then finally you get into the animal labs. There's again a different set of skill sets required to move this lead through an animal lab. So here is a primer for you to go and look at where are your interests, where your skill sets might match. And then if you go down the line, there are a lot of regulatory aspects. So there is a regulatory analyst, there are QA, QC, quality analyst, quality control roles that you can play. So there are a host of opportunities across the value chain, right? Now, let me put this value chain in context to other parameters. Just like how we looked at 6 parameters, the spotted parameters for the industry. Here's what it looks like. If there are, say, around 25 programs that start at the beginning of time, at every phase, be it target to hit to lead, or preclinical animal, or phase 1 to phase 3, and by the time it gets to submission, every phase has some level of attrition. So a lot of targets fall off the pipeline because they're not good to go any further, because it's not been found to be safe, or to start with, the target is not the right target, or there is the hit is not scaling into a lead, or the lead identified is not safer in animals, or if it's not showing efficacy, not able to determine the mechanism of action. So a lot of reasons you could for why a lead could drop off this pipeline, right? And the probability comes down as you progress from left to right. It also takes a lot of time. Typically, it's between 12 to 15 years. So if I start now, I'll see you in 2035. That is when I would have a drug ready for you, right? So especially in this pandemic situation, you've probably seen a lot of memes saying, where are all the front benchers? It's been so many months and I don't see a vaccine or a drug in the market. It's not that easy. And that's the reason why they are backbenchers, right? It takes a lot of time, effort, and a lot of regulatory approvals before either a vaccine can be brought to the market or a drug can be made available. Of course, there are special situations like this where there could be accelerated approvals that could be granted, but first it has to be safe, it has to be efficacious, and it has to be curing the disease, right? So it takes this much time to bring a drug to the market. And on top, you see the amount of capital that is invested, the money that is invested to make all of this happen. So it's a humongous task. The money that you pay for buying a prescription drug, it is not like how you make a thing and look at the cost of making the thing and then add a margin and then say, okay, this is going to be the price of that product. It is not as simple as that. Because of the risk involved, because of all the attrition over the different phases, the pharma company has to recoup all of that money. So the money that you pay for a prescription drug is also for all the, what we call the also rans. There are so many horses that started the race, only one horse won. You are paying for all the other horses that ran along with the winning horse, right? And that's how it works. That is what makes economic sense. Otherwise, they would not be able to run a profitable enterprise and keep building new drugs for us. Okay, so everything is not evil. Making a profit is not bad. That is what sustains the economy. That is what is required to bring new inventions, innovations possible. So that's the pharma value chain. Okay. So you see the two phases: initial drug application, then the final drug approval. So those are the IND and the NDA phases. You can Google for more information on this. And if you cross this valley of death, then you probably are ending up with one drug that is potentially a blockbuster that's selling for millions of dollars, and the pharma company is able to recoup all of that money that they spend and make profits. Okay, now we have learned what is pharma. We learned what is pharma value chain. What is the value chain? So what's the pharma value chain? Now I want to introduce to the final section of the topic today, which is digital. Now, this is a hyped word right now. Everything that you see around you is digital. You can relate to it very easily, right? For example, I live in a digital world here. Everything is on my phone. I bank on my phone. I don't go to the bank at all. I've never been to a bank for many years, even for depositing a check. I do all my transactions digitally. I don't have physical currency in my wallet anymore. I don't carry it at all. I've gone all over the country, traveled thousands of miles, different types of transport, flights, cars, trains. None of that require a physical currency. So it's all digital. That's an example. And then my phone also has apps. For example, the school is on vacation right now, but now is about the time when my daughter would leave for school, and the bus would pick her up from just outside the house, and I would know exactly on the app when the bus is coming, when she's picked up, and when she goes to school, I would know exactly which class or period she is in, and if she has submitted her homework, what's her exam result. All of that is updated online, right? So it's all in my hand, in the mobile that I hold. That's the digital world that I live in. And that's the office work or the school work. And then I go outside, I book a table for restaurants, and it looks like so long ago since we stepped out, right? It's been a few months, everything is closed. But I can actually book a restaurant table online. I can go or order food. As you all know, there are different ways you can do that in India too. So it's a digital world. And just like how IT is an inseparable part of what we do, we have now moved on to the digital world. It's an inseparable part of what we do every day. So why not pharma too? So pharma is also getting disrupted by all of these digital trends. And so I'm here to talk about what is the digital, what are these digital trends that are transforming pharma, and I'll give you some examples quickly on an R&D lab and a manufacturing lab and how that transformation is happening. Now I'm moving away from a comfort zone of life sciences or science into technology. And until 1998, I did not know how to create a document and how to save a file on a computer disk. We had floppy disk then. So that is when I had finished my master's in biotech. Okay, I was well into my 20s. I don't know how to operate a computer, and science was my only passion. I only know what is life sciences. I don't know anything about technology or IT or computers. Right? That is where I was. If any of you is in the same situation, probably not, because it's more a digital world now. You're more immersed in the technology world. But if you are in that space right now, I don't think there is any reason to worry or be anxious. Right now, over the last, I would say, 22 years, this has been my life. So that is the world that you will get into. And for you to be able to get into that world, you have to equip yourself with a lot more learning about what is technology, what is digital. So even if you are a life sciences student, if you do not know anything about computer science or IT or technology or digital, this is the time for you to look at it, because there is no option. This is the world that we're going to live in. Okay, so without further ado, let me talk about what is digital. For me to explain what is digital, I need to tell you what is the generation that we are living in. And it is most popularly called 4.0. We are in the fourth generation, okay? Which means I have to then describe to you what are the first three generations, right? So if you see from left to right, the first generation is more mechanical production based. Think of the colonial days, the Industrial Revolution, all the hand-woven textiles getting replaced by steam-driven textile mills. That is the kind of industry that I'm talking about. That is the Industrial Revolution, where mechanical production plants were using water, steam to replace manual labor. That is the first generation of automation, or I would say digitization, or first level of maturity in the industry that we saw. Then we got into the 1900s, and we saw the second revolution, that is about mass production. So if you have lived or studied with the US, you would know that Henry Ford did that with the Ford Motor Company, where you have a mass production line. Everybody does just one thing. If you are bolting the tires onto the car, you only do that all the time. You're just measured by how many tires you do in how many minutes every day, right? So you don't touch any other part. It is like an assembly line, and you assemble different parts together, perfected by different techniques by the Japanese, and that's why so many Japanese cars sell a lot here in the US too. And some terms to Google are Kaizen and Six Sigma. So go look them up. That is the era of mass production. This is using electrical energy to mass produce, to keep looking at how you can produce a lot of things of the same type. How can you produce thousands and thousands of the same type of car, right? So that is the second level. The third revolution is about how IT came into the picture. This is the 2000s or the late 1900s. This is when IT came into the picture, and you started automating a lot of things, right? And you are able to bring, and that is the movement from physical systems to cyber systems. So when you had IT come in, you were able to automate a few things, just like how, let's say, very simple example is you probably use Microsoft Excel or some other spreadsheet, and you have your home budget or your school work done on Excel using macros. You build those macros and you run them every time, and then they compute the data for you. You don't have to do that manual calculation every time, right? So that's how can you use simple tools to automate layman activities or grunt jobs that you don't have to. You're better off doing more analysis, more visualization instead of just doing manual work, right? So that is automation in IT view. Now we are in the 4th generation, and that is the digital world that we are in. Okay, it is important to understand in the digital world, there are 4 things that are important to us. All of you have a mobile phone, so you have connectivity and communication, without which the session is not possible, right? And then you have the data intelligence and analytics. Google exactly knows what you've been searching for this month. There was an interesting article that I read this week saying, what are Indians doing in the lockdown? And it turns out majority of Indians were Googling for food recipes because you're at home and you are cooking and eating and probably trying it out for the first time. I'm a foodie myself, but that is the kind of analytics that you can derive. So there's a very good book called Search, which talks about what Google has done and how it has changed the life for us. So there's a lot of data available. You can do analytics. There's a lot of intelligence that can be gathered from that, right? So that's the second part. The third part is around human-machine interface. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Third part is about the production that is now done by robots. So if you go into a lab, so I've not visited your lab, but I can relate to what I worked in 1993, 96. We used manual pipettes. We have pipette tips. First time I came to the US, that's when I saw disposable pipette tips. So there are different ways the lab operations are actually done. There are now advanced robotics. There are very good schools around the world, including India, where robotics have replaced manual work even in the lab. There's robotics process automation in liquid handling, for example. There are a lot of chromatography techniques that are now highly automated. There are these new high-performance liquid chromatography. They are a thing to watch, beautifully designed and executed. So a lot of things now use advanced robotics. The simple instruments that you used to use are now computers by themselves, okay? And all of that mean that if you go into a lab, you're not only interacting with a fellow scientist who is a human, but you're also interacting with a machine. So human-machine interface is a very important area of study. So which means even to build that intelligent equipment, a human needs to know how to develop that machine, how would a human interface with that machine, so to make that workflow possible, right? And how would a machine talk back to the human, and so how all of that would work seamlessly in the lab. Right? So that is the human-machine interface that I was talking about. These are the new aspects that are evolving. This is the new generation that we are living in. That is Industry 4.0. Okay. So how has that impacted pharma? And we are getting to the last 10 minutes. So I'll quickly move on to some of these sections. And you can always go back and read up on the references that I've provided if some of this information is over the head. It is not an area that you're probably used to on an everyday basis. Here are some areas that are highlighted, right? There are a set of integrated offerings. If you see on the left, there is R&D, research and development, production and supply chain. These are the labs that you typically work in the pharma industry or in the medical field or in the device field. There are a lot more sensors. And for example, I have a water heater downstairs in the basement, and that heats up water for the whole house. So if you open the tap, you get hot water. Right? Sometime back, the water heater broke and it flooded the basement. I had an older heater which did not have a sensor. But now I have a new heater that I replaced, which comes with a sensor. So every time or any time it breaks and the water comes out, there is a detector or a sensor, which is a physical probe that would look for moisture, humidity, temperature in the environment, and will send me an alert to my phone, to my other devices, to let me know that there's a leakage happening, right? So that is a proactive way of using devices for some business impact, which in this case, which is detecting water leak. Similarly, labs also have all of this. It is called the Internet of Things. So you have all of these devices, sensors. Yeah. Can you go on mute, please? Thank you. Yeah, so you have these different devices and sensors that are going to gather a lot of information. So when you work in the lab, it is no longer going to be you who is generating the data, working with the instruments, but the instrument themselves would generate data, and you have to deal with a lot of them. So that is the 4.0, that's the change that you're going to get into. And once you have the data, you have to do a lot of analytics, which you will be able to use to drive your decision making. So the decision that you're going to make, is it the good target? Is this how you move the hit to a lead? Is it safe for animals? Is it efficacious in humans? All of these important decisions that you make along the value chain that we talked about earlier are all possible now, because 4.0 is generating us a lot of data thanks to all the digital technologies, and then we're able to do that. I will end with a quick illustration in R&D and manufacturing labs. Right? In the R&D lab, you start with basic research. This is the current situation. You start with basic research, you go into clinical development, trials, and then go into approval. We saw this value chain already. It's going to change into a lot more technology players coming in. Who saw the Apple keynote earlier this year? There is now a kit that is available, or a programming interface that is available along with your watch. So just by wearing an Apple Watch, you can actually predict if I'm going to have a heart attack or not. Right? So that is how technology is driving new decision making in the healthcare life sciences space. It is transformational, it is disruptive, it is amazing, and it is here to stay. It is the new normal. It is what is going to be the future. So it is in our interest to not only embrace technology, but also embrace digital, not just for your FaceTimes, your Twitters, your Instagrams, which are good too, to connect socially, but also to use them productively in means like this. I have identified a few areas, few players. Now, here are examples of what pharma companies are doing with technology companies in discovering new therapeutic routes or therapeutic areas, in discovering new routes of administration, discovering new therapies. So it'll be a good read for you to go and look up all of this and see how you can use digital constructively. Before we go into the manufacturing slide, I want to talk about standards, right? As I mentioned earlier, if you go from left to right, there are stricter standards. Anybody wants to work in the manufacturing area, which is a huge area of opportunity, especially in India, which is now growing to be the back end for the world. India, as you know, shipped a lot of chloroquine, hydrochloroquine, right, to all over the world, including the US. So we manufacture a lot of drugs in India. You need to be conversant with the ISA 95 terms. It talks about what are the different levels and what are the standards associated with it. For lack of time, I will skim through this, but please go through this and understand how it relates to what you're doing in the lab. And finally, once you learn all of that, this is how you would apply that in a manufacturing lab. And these are the different business impact, just like how I talked about the impact of me detecting water heater leak downstairs without having to go and look at it all the time. Same way, business in a pharma manufacturing lab, we have these different value areas. And adopting digital, adopting technology is going to help them increase productivity, bring down maintenance costs, bring down the time to market their drugs, forecast more accurately what they're going to spend and how they're going to do it. So there are a lot of different value that technology is going to bring to them, right? In short, I would like to wrap up by saying this is the future. As we learn more of the electron transport chain, the Calvin cycle, the macromolecular biosynthesis, also focus a lot of your spare time in understanding what is the Internet of Things, what is artificial intelligence, what is conversational AI, what is a chat bot, what are digital data repositories and insights. This is here to stay. This is the way manual operations are going to be changing into a connected lab thanks to the new technologies, the digital disrupting technologies, which are IoT, blockchain, machine learning, artificial intelligence. So you don't have to be an expert in those areas to be able to live in that. It is just like how you're using your mobile phone to bank. You don't need to know how that app is built or how the mobile works to be able to deposit a check on the app, right? Similarly, you don't need to understand how a bot is built, but you need to know how to use it in the context of how to prepare a liquid handling system so you can perform or complete your assay in multiple assay in shorter time than what you would take manually doing all of that, right? So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I think we are out of time. Here are a list of references for you to go look up. Hopefully, one or more of what I talked about today, which is digital transformation across the pharma value chain, is of interest. Digital transformation is an area, pharma is an area, value chain is an area. I try to bring all of that together in the context of R&D and manufacturing labs for you. Hopefully that was of interest, and I would be happy if you took back home at least one message and you're able to go back and Google for something that is of interest for you and how you can apply that in your everyday learning at school, in your college. So thank you again for the opportunity. You can reach me on this email. If you have any questions, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you again to the college management for giving me this opportunity. And thank you all for taking your Friday evening out and listening to me for the last hour. And as I said, all of this is possible thanks to teachers like you. And this is an ongoing learning. Every day is a new learning. Every day a new thing evolves in this world. So it's good to keep ourselves updated. Hopefully this was helpful in that context. Back to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your intellectual session. Dear participants, do you have any queries? Participants, do you have any queries? You can ask, sir.
This presentation is with Meenakshi ma'am, so you can probably get that from her. Also, as I mentioned earlier, none of this is my intellectual property. It's all publicly available. I do not own any of this. And this is my personal opinion, and this is not that of my employer. Always reach out to me on LinkedIn or email if you would like to have any interaction on this further. And if there are any questions, I will stay back a few more minutes before I get into my next meeting to see if you have any questions. Always happy to chat.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, sir. Hello.
Hi, I can hear you. Yes.
Hello. Yeah, I have one question. Can I ask one question, sir?
Sure, please.
Sir, my question is about artificial intelligence. How would it is helpful for making the drug or in industry, in the pharmaceutical industry? How it will be used? Artificial intelligence can be used. How could you implement this artificial intelligence?
Okay. Thank you. So artificial intelligence again is it's not one single thing that you learn and implement. It's a collection of different techniques. It's been around for many years. It's become a hype now, thanks to the digital disruption, the 4.0. So it's about how you train a machine to think like a human. The human mind is the most evolved, and as students of biochemistry, you would probably know that. Among all the different therapeutic areas, the CNS or central nervous system or the neuroscience area is the most complex because that has the most unknown. And that is where it borders between science and philosophy. And so it would be a good idea to also, if you pick up any branch of philosophy, Indian, Western, Eastern philosophy that you like or are able to encounter, it is good for you to, as a student of science, also learn some philosophy, so you're able to see that different perspective. So artificial intelligence is something artificial. So human intelligence is natural. Artificial intelligence, something artificial that you are teaching a computer to pick up a pattern, because that's humongous data, and you put all of that through a machine, and the machine is able to predict a pattern. And that pattern is going to help you determine something. Right? For example, if you go back to my slides, I have identified in the last few slides and in references some terms around which company is doing work with which technology partner, which pharma, which technology partner, and you can Google for that. It'll give you some details about what kind of AI techniques are used. Okay, here is a simple example or an anecdote I can leave you with, which is simple to understand. A type of artificial intelligence called conversational AI, conversational artificial intelligence. It's about how I don't know if you have Alexa or Google at home. So those are devices that listen to you and processes the information that you talk to them and then responds to you, all in real time, right? But all of that involves a lot of intelligence that is built into that. So I was at a lab. It is an animal lab in a pharma company, and the pharma company animal lab has strict compliance in terms of keeping the place sterile, keeping it safe for the animals. So you're all fully suited. You have your gloves. You have your protection, just like how you would see the COVID warriors out there wearing the protective gear, right? The PPEs. So in an animal lab, you would have a similar situation. So they cannot have a free hand to operate a mobile or a computer to be able to do their work or bring up a record, which is online. So they said, I cannot work with my hands. Can you develop a system that I can talk to, right? And that is where we piloted some artificial intelligence that are conversational. So you now have devices that will first listen to you. All of that is on the internet is text-based, right? Anything that you type in is searched using a text string. If you say masala dosa, then that masala dosa will be searched by Google using that text string, right? So when you talk, that voice is converted into text, and that is then sent to the cloud. That is processed, and then the message comes back. So we had to build that intelligence on what the scientists would talk to the device, saying, bring up the protocol, or what is the next step in the protocol, or show me the result for animal number ABC123, right? So listening to the scientist, converting speech to text, search using text, bring up the results, convert text to speech, and talk back to the scientist. All of that happens in a few milliseconds, right? And that is the power of technology. So that's an example of how conversational AI is used in a lab setting, how scientists use them. They're also used in discovery research. Coronavirus is an RNA virus, right? So there are a lot of RNA based therapeutics technologies. You've heard some of the pharma biotech companies look at a vaccine or a drug. Some of them are already using artificial intelligence, machine learning to be able to crunch a lot of data that's available. For example, initial data that's coming out of initially um, infected countries, and then the genetic material was isolated, it was sequenced, all of that sequence information was made available as a digital file, and that digital file process compared. So that is how they use technology to discover the new drug, or in the process of discovering the new drug that you will see. So any COVID drug that you will see in the market in the next few years will definitely have some kind of machine learning or an artificial intelligence that contributed towards that discovery. So that much we are sure, because of the evolution of these digital technologies now in the market. Okay, so hopefully that answered. And of course, based on the material that I've shared, you can Google for more information on that.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir. Thank you, participants. Now I would like to call upon Dr. N. Meenakshi ma'am to deliver vote of thanks. Over to Meena ma'am.
I think in the chat box, there was a question by Chitra, I believe. Shireen, can you just pose the question? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear you, ma'am.
I think in the chat box, Chitra madam has posted a question. Okay, anyhow, we'll give it to the speaker later. At the outset, I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. It's my proud and privilege to thank my student, Arvind Ramakrishnan, and the speaker of the day, who has accepted the invitation to deliver the lecture during amidst his busy schedule in this pandemic situation. Thank you, Arvind, for your simple, effective lecture, which was aimed at reaching each and every individual participant. So the speaker has disclosed the avenues available for the budding youngsters in the pharma field. So based on the individual's interest, I think they can go ahead for the research. And he has also motivated the students to go in search and decipher the opportunities for the betterment of the future. The speaker has also insisted to get acquainted with the digital world, which is the need of the hour. Learning has no age limit, as we all know. I thank the participants and especially the faculty members who have registered to know more about through this webinar. And the speaker's thirst for knowledge is brimming, and he aspires to do his MS program in bioscience management to enrich his knowledge further, and I wish him all the best. I would be failing in my duty if I don't place on record the support given by the institution, our Madam Principal, the faculty members of the Biochemistry Department, the participants, and the research scholars who have helped out to bring this webinar a success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, participants. Feedback link has been shared in the chat box. You can fill and get your certificate. Thank you, participants. As well as, dear participants, you can get your certificate within 2 days. Thanks for your cooperation.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.